Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, once again to my podcast, 24's Podcast, the best video gaming and sports podcast on the entire internet. Today, pause the music. Today, we're going to be covering Night City Wire, the episode series, covering, I don't know what specifically they're covering episode by episode. I mean, they kind of like tease it and talk about it just a little bit before the episode is about to drop, but they don't really it's not the overarching series is about Cyberpunk, but it's not really specifically about one aspect about Cyberpunk. It's about multiple aspects. I apologize if that sounds confusing, but that's what we're going to get into. Night City Wire episode 3. Unpause my music, please. They're going to reveal some gameplay about the gangs, and also some parts of the city aspect as well. I think they're not districts. It's kind of like the lore of the city. I already watched it because I already tried to record this podcast once before and I screwed it up completely. Now I have to go back in and record it again because of my own screw up. Ladies and gentlemen, great podcast for you today, right here on 24's Podcast.
Reflection, there's a truth. It's everyone's to be told. I need the mask. I'm a shapeshifter.
So, I got like 10 minutes in before I was like, well, this podcast sucks. This isn't very good. So, I decided to re-record the entire podcast. And the episode, what time is it? It's like 40 minutes. It's 20 minutes after the event actually was over with, so it's gonna be another kind of like 20 to 30 minute episode once again. And I got like a weird little like glitch on my webpage, and I had to like it's not the reason why I restarted. It was one of the reasons though, but I already watched part of it just because I was doing the podcast. But we'll watch essentially like this part, and this is the part where they show off certain parts of the city, and she's kind of just giving you a paradigm of what's going on here, like what they're going to talk about in the next couple of minutes, like 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes. And the first thing that they're going to talk about is not even talk about, but they're going to show you a little bit of a trailer. I don't know if there's gameplay after this trailer, but hopefully there's more gameplay besides the stuff that they showed off. I'll point out some interesting stuff that I saw here in this trailer, but I'll let you hear it all, so that way you have a pretty good read on what they're trying to do with the game and some of the stuff that they have with the city.
Oh my God, Juanita here. Today's news is Nova Max.
Hi there. New to Night City? It's not so bad here.
How we feeling today? Cause I feel amazing.
The food. The Thai on 7th and Hayward. The pierogies down by the docks.
Our home. Our pride. And as always, your business is my business.
And this is your World News Update. Endless possibilities and endless lies.
We are fucked, America. And I don't know how we're gonna fix it.
The homeless population in Night City has risen by 300%.
Crime in Night City is now double the rate than in the new United States.
You want to be some kind of hero?
That's a fight this city won't let you win.
On your own, you're fucked.
Well, on that note, that's it for today's Info Flash. Sleep tight, Night City. The grass ain't greener anywhere else.
Night City. What does it mean to you? How well do you know its history? Who was Richard Knight? How many stations are in the NCART system? Which city district boasts the best burrito in town? The answers to these questions and more can be found at the address at the bottom of your screen. Check it out and fall in love with Night City all over again.
She pulls my trigger, got me up all night. It's a danger play here in Night City.
So that's it, right? If we kind of go back to the start, the thing that they were trying to show off for the majority of this this trailer, and I don't know if you could catch it, but it was to show a dichotomy, a balance, maybe not a balance, but just kind of two sides of the same coin, and that is Night City. They're trying to show off in one kind of image a girl that really doesn't have a lot of cyber augmentations. You can see some stuff on her legs, and once they kind of zoom in a little bit closer, you'll see some lines kind of on like her collarbone and stuff like that. But for the most part, she doesn't look augmented that much. In fact, her face doesn't have any augmentations, and you'll see a lot more characters have like the metal lines within their faces, and you'll see males from gangs actually replace their face with like eyes, or not different eyes, but like cybernetic eyes and stuff like that. But maybe not cybernetic eyes, because she also has cybernetic eyes as well, and you'll kind of see it here in a second. But like they've essentially like cut out their entire face and they look like robots. That's what the Maelstrom is. But with this girl, you can see that her cybernetic augmentations are to look better, right? You'll see, you can actually see it here with her eyes, right? Oh, it kind of goes a little bit too fast. But with her eyes are actually, here's a better picture of it. Her eyes aren't black or brown, they're orange. Instead of nobody's eyes are orange, right? But hers are, because she replaced her eyes. I think Kuroshi is the primary like megacorp with that like does eye augmentations, and she may be sponsored by them. So that's why she has these eyes, these like weird eyes, like silverish, not silverish, but like copperish. She also has rings and like a luminescent like rings, and not rings, but earrings and like a bra, right? And then he gets to your character, I'm assuming, where it kind of shows the slums, the dirty part of the city. It kind of goes fast, but then it shows this really, really nice, cool shot of Night City, where you have all of these cars on this freeway, on these freeways and on these frontage roads and stuff like that, and going onto the freeway. This looks really, really cool, and I wish that this was like I could be down there instead of like up here, where I can see the action, but I can't be a part of the action. By the by, I don't know if you recognized some of the cities, some of the like the buildings that are in this shot. This is obviously, this may be Arasaka's headquarters, maybe, but it obviously is affiliated with Arasaka because of the building. But just like the scale of Night City, the cool buildings and stuff like that. I love what they're doing when it comes to the theme of the game, and the structures of the building and the atmosphere, where it is supposed to be very, very clustered and compact, spread out over a wide distance. And apparently they did they focused more on developing this game to make it more like vertical and scalable, over making it wide open like in The Witcher 3. And that's kind of what you're getting with all of these buildings, and your character kind of constantly being in these high-rise buildings. But an interesting little like Easter egg that they put in here on purpose, by the way, this yellow building is the collector's edition box that you get if you like got the collector's edition. And I think it's like inside this like collector's edition box is the statue of your character jumping off his Akira like bike, and with his double pistol. So just look this up. Like it was something that I just noticed too, by the way. But again, they're showing you the dichotomy of, oh yeah, no. This looks like a weapons dealer. Like when you pause it, here's like the mantis arms. I think this is a cyber augmentation for your hands to make your hands stronger. These are obviously guns and stuff like that. But you can tell she's completely different from the other one, from the other girl, where she has a lot more obvious cyber augmentations than the other one, where she even has metallic arms, for example. And you can see the metal in her head and stuff like that. But I mean, just look at some of these shots, man. The haziness of Night City. you know, the different buildings. I wonder if you can actually go into these airships and interact with the airships. They've kind of teased that boats are in the game, but I don't necessarily, and Aerodynes are in the game, but I don't know if you can pilot Aerodynes as well. Aerodynes are like these flying things in the air, as opposed to the just drivable cars as well. Again, just showing you the dichotomy of the city and how you have to eat this stuff. By the way, interestingly enough, I think they removed the watermark just for this trailer, but there isn't a watermark on the top of your screen saying work in progress. We'll kind of see later on if that's a continuing theme, but as I've talked for months, I think the game is done. I think they're just polishing the game. I think some people are worried that it's going to be delayed. It's not going to be delayed. They've kind of talked about it a little bit in passing, but I don't think it's going to be delayed again. I think it's coming out November 19th in 2 months. Literally 2 months in a day. So, yeah, there you go. But is there anything else about this that I see that's interesting about this image? No, not really. Yeah, oh yeah. All of this looks like gameplay to me, by the way. So if you don't like what you see, you're probably not going to like the game. I think this is the Night City, like, government, the local government. I think this is what this office is. I think, yeah, this looks like it. Like shaking hands, kissing babies, stuff like that, right? This is kind of like your stockbroker, obviously. And they're just showing, once again, the dichotomy of it and kind of the corporation and the news. Oh, yeah. Something that I should have also mentioned. What's it called? I don't know what it's called. Net running, right? So this is kind of a low-level model of net running where, you know, you can log on to the net with a portable handheld device. I would expect him to have something else besides this just headset. But right now he's kind of in the net, and it looks like he may be like looking at the news or whatever, as evident by like him kind of having, I think, just some of these flashes here. Or it was specifically this, not this. What was it? It was this. That I was like, maybe he's on the net and maybe he's just looking at news as he's sitting waiting for a bus, you know? And they're kind of just showing you some of the daily life aspects of the game as well. Looks like your character is smoking a joint, and this looks like another Ripper doc as well. Which, again, they're going kind of fast to make sure that you don't catch everything. But this looks like another Ripper doc. Also, I don't know if you can tell by your character's hands. It looks like your character has had some serious augmentations to his left hand as well. You can kind of see, once again, the difference between your character, who has a lot of augmentations, and this character, who really doesn't. He has a lot of tattoos, though. But you can kind of see, like, your hand is more metallic than his whole body. Jesus Christ, nip sip. And some of the, this is more of a prominent area of the city. This looks like the game's creative director, or one of the game's senior characters. Not characters, but developers, excuse me. I'll talk about the girls here in a second. So I was kind of I'll talk about them right now. So there's kind of like these influencers within the world that are just trying to promote products and stuff like that, and are put on by the mega corporations. I kind of talked about it just a little bit. These girls are sponsored by Kuroshi, and you can almost kind of see one of their eye cyber augmentations. You can't really see hers, but you can see hers, right? She has significant cyber augmentations where it looks like she has 6 eyes. She also has cyber augmentations. This eye pupil looks differently colored than the other, and that's on purpose. It's to show, like, hey, I can afford different colored eyes, and look at how rich I am and stuff like that. But these girls, they're sponsored. They were in the book. This girl, by the way, I should also mention this. Depending on which cyber augmentation you have and get, it kind of shows how wealthy you are. So, for example, these girls, like, this girl, for example, there's no need for her to have 6 eyes. She has it. She has them, not for any specific reasons other than she's rich, right? The same thing goes with this girl. There's no need for your body to be platinum, maybe silver, besides you just being, like, rich, you know? And then you kind of get to the afterlife, which is the bar. Sorry for rewinding so many times. Which is the bar that, this is the afterlife. It's, you know, it's a pulse and stuff like that. I think even your Quadra is right here. This actually may be a different car than your Quadra. I may be mistaken, but this is This is the Afterlife Lounge. Apparently, you're going to be doing a lot of missions here and stuff like that. And there's a DJ. There's you and your partner. This dance scene was really, really weird with him. With Jackie, it's just like, that's so weird, dude. Like, what are you doing? They're showing off kind of the nightlife in Night City and, you know, you hanging out with your friends and stuff like that and having a good time. And is there anything else in that shot? No, I don't think so. But then that you go to, this is the Mox's strip club where you can interact and brain dance and apparently take a lot of drugs. And Jesus Christ, what is on your hands? Rings and like blood and stuff like that? Jesus Christ. And then it looks like your character is super drunk. Do they show anything? Thank God they do not. And it's just kind of just more shots of Night City and stuff like that. I love the holographic advertisements in the background as well. They look really, really cool. But again, they're just showing you off the city. By the way, the music kind of changes here, I think, in a couple of seconds. And it seems like all of this is just Night City music, or not Night City, excuse me, cyberpunk music, by the way, if you're wondering what that flag was right here. This is the flag of NASA, the new United States of America. I don't know how many states are in it, but it's a complicated concept where certain states have essentially seceded in their own state. California, I think it's North or South California, is its own like independent state, and that's where Night City is. So just a little bit of tidbit of information. And they're showing you kind of the slums and stuff like that, as opposed to the rich side of town, which I think they're going to go into in a second here. They're showing robberies, homicides, stuff like that. Some really, really bad shit. And this is like police versus some gang or whatever. This looks like literally the apocalypse. Just what is this? Hey, check this shit out. What is this? Where is this? I want to go there. I want to go there, but I'm like, where is this in the city? So that way I don't avoid it. I can just go straight into it. This is obviously a Maelstrom gang. This is a gang member. This is kind of what I was talking about with their cyber augmentations and replacing their entire face with cyber augmentations. This looks like some type of a, I don't want to say a drone, but like an exoskeleton. This is the Night City Police Department, where they are horribly underfunded and understaffed. And then you go on. I think this is another Maelstrom gang member. But I mean, you can kind of see like the poor, their augmentations are a lot more obvious and a lot less glamorous than the others. This, by the way, this is a Valentino's gang member. I think, oh, interesting. This is a Militech agent, right? This is a Militech agent. He's talking to a Valentino's guy. All of this, some of it, maybe not all of this, but some of this seems like mission structures, or not mission structure, but like missions, right? Like your character, like this doesn't seem like an out-of-body experience. This is kind of like your character looking at this person being shaken down, or being shook down by this Militech agent over just like watching this happen, I guess. This is your character driving a car in the rain. This is, this is like Max Tac or something like, I don't know what it's called, but it's TAC, right? Or this is essentially the paramilitary version of the police in Night City. So things sometimes get so bad within Night City that they have to rely on this group. And this group has high-tech weaponry, as evident by this gun, and high-tech equipment and cyber augmentations as well. They even have like aerodynes and stuff like that. This is the side of the Night City Police Department that you really don't want to mess with at all. And it's kind of interesting to see them kind of be out. Not even be out, but like that they're kind of teasing them right now, I guess. But yeah, there's your character taking drugs. By the way, interestingly enough about your character in that shot, I think he's wearing, he's wearing a Mox's shirt with the word bitch on it. That's hilarious. Maybe not hilarious, but it's okay. This is a fixer. You're working for him. I don't know what you're getting from him, or not getting, but giving to him. Obviously another gun. This seems like the Maelstrom gang. I don't know what they're doing, but they're just like, yeah, they're killing people, and your character's like, fuck this, I'm gonna jump in here. And then the trailer switches, and it shows you a different aspect in a different part of Night City. Sorry about that. As I take a swig of my water, my throat is starting to get a little bit dry. This is obviously the Badlands. I'm kind of interested in how the Badlands affects the gameplay and the choices that you can make in the Badlands, because it seems like the Badlands is significantly larger than, like, the entirety of Night City, but it obviously doesn't have the level of detail. Maybe not detail is the right word, but the verticality and the compactness, I guess, of Night City. But it is going to be interesting to see, like, how the Badlands play into the gameplay and the music changes. Here's in Arasaka Corpo's house. It looks like it's way better. It may be in like Brentwood or whatever it's called. They're showing like politicians, and I really loved the song that they had playing here. It's gonna be like the final couple of minutes of this, maybe not minutes, but like seconds of Night City's of the Night City love thing. And I'll look at this later. Actually, let me look at it like as they're kind of doing the thing, as they're like going through it. What is it? nightcity.love. Maybe there's something else there. I don't know. And then it's the end of the trailer, and then they'll go into something else, and I'll look up Night City Love. Here we go.
Well, since Night City is one of our stars of this episode, there is actually quite a lot to talk about. So let's start at the beginning. How did Night City come to be? Because yes, it exists in the world of the tabletop, but how do you take that and make what we've got now?
Well, yeah, as you can imagine, making a city that is as big and complex as Night City is quite the ambitious project. First off, we sat down and we were really considering what is it that we wanted to do with Night City. In a way, Night City is the star of Cyberpunk, right? It is one of its main characters. We wanted to make a city that is very, very believable, right? I mean, the word immersion gets thrown around a lot, but really, we wanted you to be able to dive into it and feel like this is a real place. And then secondly, we also wanted to provide enough variety between districts so that exploring Night City would always be fun, right? There's no point in making a city that is all same-ish, and it doesn't really matter where you go, because once you've been through one district, you feel like you've been through all of them. So for that, we first off started taking a look at the real-life geography that Night City is located on, and that would be on the coast of California. Knowing that Night City would be a coastal city gave us a bit of insight into what we would expect from the city layout. You'd expect the port, you'd expect huge industrial areas that would facilitate this kind of trade that you would assume a city of this type would have with the world. And then we went through and actually divided the city into several districts, 6 of them, and some of them are based on the original lore. We decided to give their own characteristics in terms of architecture, their demographics, the kind of people that would live there, and also the function within the city. Each of these districts in terms...
Let me pause it here. So let me kind of break down a little bit of what he's saying here, and I'll kind of go back. I wish that they would just dump a whole bunch of gameplay and show off, and just show off all the gameplay that they have, because they probably have hundreds of hours of it, if I'm honest with you. Maybe not hundreds of hours of it, but they like recorded, of course. But like they may have like 20 or 30, I would say, easily. Maybe recorded, maybe not, I don't know. But they kind of showed off this part, right? So let me break down the map, because this may be the first time that they actually showed off the map, right? So if I'm not mistaken here, okay. So this is kind of the hub of Night City, right? This is where a lot of the corporations are. Like, this is where their headquarters are. They're the developer was talking about how this is a coastal city. This is on the coast of California, right? Here's the water, stuff like that. So this is a coastal city, and obviously the headquarters, the main like areas they want to be like next to the port, and most of the headquarters, they're actually like next to the port. And this is kind of I think like somewhere in and around here, or maybe somewhere like it's somewhere in here where it's like the best part of the city when it comes to entertainment. And I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Tokyo City or Japantown. It's called Japantown, where it has like games and arcades and clubs and bars and like the best part of the city, right? And once you kind of go from the central part of the city to like other districts, you start to see the city kind of fall apart, right? Like in this district, for example, this is, I think, where your character is located. This is where I think the 7th Street gang is located. This is kind of like the suburban area of the city. This is where a lot of the corpo, like mid-tier corpos live. And I think this is like Baywood or Brentwood or something like that up here. These like yellow lines going out of the city are obviously like the Badlands and stuff like that. And kind of notice like, you know, there's not a lot of ways into the city, right? It looks like there may be like maybe one coming in here. This part right here is not connected, and maybe like another one over here, and that's kind of on purpose to make sure to control essentially like who comes into the city and who isn't. Because again, this is a free city. This is a free state. It's kind of like Hong Kong and China, where this is, you know, kind of a city in an independent country a little bit. But I'm trying to see if there's like anything else that I kind of remember off the top of my head. This is the Corpo Center. This is where a lot of the mid-tier corpos lives. This is where a lot of like the city's workers live, so to speak. And this is, I forgot where this is. This may be like an industrial area, especially kind of some of the buildings up here. But kind of notice the verticality of some of the buildings, right? Especially over here in the clustered areas and some of the non-clustered vertical city areas, as opposed to the suburban areas. Yeah, so kind of the first shot of Night City. Also, interestingly enough, are some of the bridges that kind of connect parts of the city. And I wonder how this is broken up, or why this is broken up, and maybe it's connected, maybe it isn't, I don't know. But again, they kind of showed off a little bit of the driving here, which I don't know if I like that or not. Like, it kind of looks like your car wasn't really like it looks like your car really like wasn't moving that much when it came to like I don't know. Maybe it's different later on, maybe it's not, but I didn't like it. I didn't like it that much. The visuals. I haven't played the game, obviously, so maybe they've been talking about like how they've been tweaking a lot of stuff, the melee combat, the car driving, stuff like that. They've been talking about how much they've tweaked the game within the last couple of months.
A city of this type would have with the world. And then we went through and actually divided the city into several districts, 6 of them, and some of them are based on the original lore. We decided to give their own character.
So this is kind of the worker suburbia area. I forgot what district this is called, but this is kind of like where all the workers live and stuff like that. This is run by the 7th Street gang, which I think they're going to get into later on. But this is where like this is their suburbia, right? And notice kind of like, I think almost right across from it is a bunch of the cities. This is Arasaka. So if we kind of go back to the map, I won't actually go back to it, but like essentially right across from that, like from suburbia is where they work and stuff like that. The big corporations. And this is like, if you kind of go a little bit more to the right here, if they pan the camera, this is where a lot of the mega corporations, mid-level employees work. Or not work, but live.
In terms of
this is Brentwood, so this is like the best place to live in the city.
Architecture, the demographics, the kind of people that would live there, and also the function within the city. Each of these districts, in turn, we divided into further sub-districts, which we further characterized using the more grand theme of the larger district. This process, I think, has resulted in a city that feels quite alive, has a lot of character, where each district feels like its own distinct zone without feeling separated from the larger picture.
I forgot to mention this. I have no idea what that is. No idea what that is. But this is there's certain districts within Night City with a huge like influence, or not a huge influence, but have been influenced by certain cultures like Japanese and Chinese culture. And I guess it's represented here, but I have no idea what district this is.
Like its own distinct zone without feeling separated from the larger picture. And that results in something that allows the player to easily navigate even the complex concrete jungles of Night City simply by looking around and always having a rough idea where you actually are.
But Night City is clearly so different from anything we've ever created with The Witcher. Can you give us some idea about or some insight into just how big and like how densely packed Night City really is?
Yes, so I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that Night City is easily the most complex thing that I or the others have worked on. The city is super organic, right? It's not like a chessboard layout, but the layout of the city is crazy, and you can tell that it grew in phases, right? Where buildings have been built on top of each other, and I guess the mega buildings that we have showcased are a great example of this. You'll actually see that they are located on some kind of pillar, you know, and then expand outside and then up high into the sky, and underneath it you'll have space for other buildings. This yields a lot of interesting experiences when it comes to exploration, and that's the one thing I'm most excited about for players to experience. We've been saying that our exploration is super vertical, right? But what this really means is that it changes the way you explore the city. Compared to our previous games, you won't be able to easily set out on a target in the distance, right? You won't be able to say, oh, there's a castle on a hill over there, I'll try to get there, and then you'll be lost in the way. But here it's much more intimate, much more moment to moment. You might be roaming the cities and get a call by your fixer who informs you about a job nearby that you might be able to do, right? Or you find an alleyway and you walk down one of the many alleyways that the city has to offer, and it's always a surprise. You don't know if you might stumble upon some gangers hanging out that are up to no good. Sometimes, and these are the moments that I often get surprised with, you even stumble upon the odd elevator that is meant to connect parts of the, you know, different layers of the city, and it's quite astonishing sometimes to see where you come out when you enter one of these and, you know, find that, oh, this is actually how it connects to the world. That's crazy, and now I'm here, and now I know there's a shortcut that I can take. And again, this all serves to really enhance this sense of wonder that we all come to love from open world games, and the whole city is built to cater to that.
I mean, you guys have really brought Night City to life, and I really want to make a point of that. It is a living, breathing city. So as a level designer, can you give us some insight into those little touches that you guys have made? Because I hear you guys have even been placing rubbish by hand.
Oh yes, we've been placing quite a bit of rubbish, and that's certainly one of the more glorious parts of being a level designer or an environment artist, where you get to litter the streets that you've spent time building with the garbage. But it's details such as this that we find really important to make the city feel alive, and also we take great pride in the process of making this, right? We have a lot of fun actually placing a lot of what we call mini stories, right? These are little encounters that you can find when you simply walk along the streets. Of course, we have huge quests, right? Side quests, we have lots of side activities that you can do, but it always is nice to just kind of stop down for a minute and take a look at your surroundings that we have so lovingly created, and try to see if there maybe isn't something that you can be a little detective for. Now, one other thing that I think is really cool is also the fact that we have actually named every single street in the city. So not only will NPCs be able to communicate their locations or the locations they want you to visit by sort of referring to the street names, but also you will be able to talk to your friends about it in that way, right? Have you been to Poplar Street in Japantown, for example? And I think this is a small detail, but the philosophy that we have with these kind of things is that, you know, many small things contribute to the sum of it, which is hopefully then you being able to explore a city that you feel is truly alive and that you haven't been experiencing before.
Well, Miles, thank you so much for giving us your insight. I suppose when the game launches, you could be an official Night City tour guide instead, right?
I might be, yeah. You know, if this game dev thing doesn't work out for me, I might retire and become a tour guide in Night City.
Don't forget that if you are tuning in late, or if you just want to watch anything again, we will be uploading everything to our channels soon. Now, from the 6th Street to the Valentine...
I don't really have a lot to say about like what they were talking about with the city aspect of the game. I do wish, oops, sorry for hitting my desk. I do wish that they would actually, like, they kind of teased it but didn't really show it off a little bit. And they showed off the map just a little bit, but I wish that they had actually like said, "Hey, you know, like I know what they're trying to get at because I've done like research into this." But like if and I'll mute it. Like they kind of teased it just a little bit. I'm not sure where it was. But I was talking about like the rich and the prosperous part of the of Night City. I thought it was Brentwood. It's called North Oak, and I really, really wish that I'd paused on that spot. I think they may go over it. Here it is. So if you look at North Oak, for example, North Oak, here's Night City, right? And Night City is a little, like you can see, it's kind of detached from North Oak, right? And it's so detached even that you actually have to drive up into it. And I remember reading about it, and I remember looking at like a map of it, and I was like, this kind of seems like it's on an island, but it kind of is, right? When you kind of think about it, it's by itself, it's secluded. I don't know if this is like an airship to like make sure that nobody trespasses, but essentially the CEOs of these mega corporations and things of that nature, they live in this area. And I wish that they had shown off a lot more of the districts more often. Like, for example, what exactly is Japantown over like other districts? Like, I wish that they had showed it off, showed you driving around, showed more of the city. But I also understand that they have like a very limited amount of time. Like, they only have like 20 minutes. So it's like, how much can they honestly get into without, maybe not without, but like with actually covering it to the level of detail that they want to cover it. And the reality is they probably can't do that. So on to the gangs.
From the 6th Street to the Valentinos, it's time to introduce you to the gangs of Night City.
You know how things work in Night City? The stronger survive, but that's how things stand. You're either somebody, or you fizzle out into nothing.
Then C ain't a city that lets you get by without buddies.
Be very careful, my friend. We are all so far from home.
Which gang's the city's biggest and baddest, according to the NCPD?
Scavs hold the body count title. Or Maelstrom, depending on the season.
One time, a Maelstrom ganger killed a young kid right in front of my eyes for shits and giggles.
Chrome-sucking psychos.
And who the fuck are you to say what can and can't be? I'm gonna introduce you to our meat grinder. About time we had some fun!
Think Maelstrom never forgets? Never!
I hate these Borg fuckers.
Just a gang like any other, right?
I'll take the Valentinos. They follow God and the Santa Madre. Honor means something to them.
How'd you meet Jackie?
We started out together.
In the Valentinos?
No, in the fucking Bible book club.
I gotta give style points to the Valentinos. They have a punishment for every occasion.
Gangster life, puto!
Quick shout out to everyone in Haywood and Santo Domingo. Lately, the Valentinos and 6th Street have had a bigger bone to pick.
6th Street. Why'd they want to wipe you?
I can't fucking stand Tinos.
Fucking suck!
I've dealt with 6th Street before. We do the run, they'll transfer the cred.
Come on, let's go before 6th Street shows up.
Shot! Any more Second Amendment fans in the house, huh?
Hate those bastards. Vomit lofty patriotic bullshit all day. Time to bring on the future.
Any idea how many attacks from behind the Black Wall we neutralized? If the Voodoo Boys breach the Black Wall, we'll all be fucked.
Voodoo Boys? Urban myth, I thought. Just net runners spooking each other. No such gang.
You know, I heard a few things about you. Voodoo Boys, best runners in town.
You do not steal from the Voodoo Boys. I see you, always.
For them, Pacifica's just Haiti 2.0. Their own island, cut off from the rest of the city.
This is our turf, our home. Until last week, the animals crawled in.
Animals are the craziest fucking gang in the city.
Breaker Skull!
Animals aren't the play here, are they? They're hired muscle. Someone else needed them.
I fucked you over, you fucked the gang over. Somewhere at the start of the story, somebody fucked the Corp. See how this works now?
My husband's new Westbrook, very high in the tiger claws. They did what made the best eddies, sold sex and black market tech.
See a lot of tigers. They run this place.
Know what else they do well? Break the knees of people who ask questions.
I gotta do something! Shut the fuck up! The tigers will kill us.
Come on, baby.
Tiger Claws killed one girl too many, so people took matters into their own hands.
Folk went ballistic. Girls, pimps, outcasts, the whole freak show. It's how the Mox got started.
Think you're some kind of gangoon now, huh?
Us Moxes have each other's back. We look out for one another.
You looking for some company tonight?
How'd you hook up with the Mox?
I thought Susie and the gang could really change something in this city.
Moxes and nomads don't seem so different. Both seem to yammer a lot about community, solidarity. Tell me about the Badlands. Not much going on out here, huh?
Au contraire. This is an ecosystem. Nomads, wrapped in Shiv, corporations, and drifters, they form a complete whole. Remove one part, the delicate balance topples.
Here in the Aldecaldos, it all stays in the family.
Classic dilemma. What comes first? Family or the outside world?
This family will go to hell and back.
Everyone in this city lives in their own bubble, and either you fly high or sink into quicksand.
All right.
Matt, are you...
So they kind of... We'll go all the way back. They kind of like showed the interconnectedness of each gang, not only with each gang, but also with the city itself. And it kind of started with Maelstrom, right? It started with where Maelstrom is located at. So this is the industrial part of the city a little bit. This is where Maelstrom and I think the Valentinos are. The poorest part of the city, essentially, right? So they're showing, I think they were located, or they started to locate, like in Chinatown. There's two different towns. There's Chinatown and Japantown, right? So the Maelstrom are located, I think, in and around Chinatown, and the Valentinos are as well, but they're located somewhere else with like within. I don't know what specific like district they're in, sub district they're in, but they're located like they're pretty much neighbors, right? So the Maelstrom. They're like we already have been introduced to them like countless amounts of times. The Valentinos, though, the gang that Jackie is kind of, I thought he was, to be honest with you, kind of like a reformed Valentino. This gang is kind of your old like we're family. You know, we're all about the family. We're all about togetherness and collectiveness, and we're kind of just like trying to survive on our own. They're located in like the poorest part of Night City, and they're struggling against not only other gangs within Night City, but also with the other corporations that are trying to like push them out because they're in a they're in a part of the city that could become prosperous. And their signs and their gang signs are like skulls and like the V with the roses in it. And they're all about like Santa Mary, and like they're kind of like a traditional like Mexican gang and stuff like that. One thing that I also noticed, by the way, what the fuck is this? Holy shit. I wasn't really that worried about the melee combat, but what is that? What is that? Jesus Christ, I don't really know what I'm watching here. I mean, your character kind of has like a back step. But when I saw that, I was like, that doesn't look good, like, at all. And then they kind of went on to show the katanas and stuff like that, and I was like, that doesn't look good. But they show, you know, the relation with Santo Domingo and Haywood, which is, I think, where both of these two gangs are located in. I think. Oh, no. Haywood is where 6th Street is located, I think. No. Or is I'm just going to tap out and give up on trying to, like, figure out where they're located. But 6th Street, they're all about, like, they were former veterans that were fed up with how the police don't actually police. And they were like, well, we'll be police officers ourselves. And the issue is that they freaking were like, oh, we could just own the neighborhood. We don't really have to be for justice and stuff like that. And that's kind of what happened. Not kind of. That's exactly what happened. They are essentially another gang now by themselves. The Voodoo Boys, they're net runners. They're like Jamaican, Haitian net runners. Let me take a swig of my water first. Hold on. Oh my God. Sorry about that. By the way, if you're wondering why your character goes into a vat of ice or a tub of ice, or is it? Hang on, they're about to go into the ice. But if you're wondering why they go into a bath of ice whenever they are, whenever they interact with the Voodoo Boys, it's because your character is net running. And what that means is that your character is essentially jacking into a port that will allow them to interact kind of like in virtual reality with the internet, right? So the issue with that is that your body is kind of used as like a computer, and it heats up, and your blood will actually start to boil and kill you unless you get into this vat of ice to cool you down, and there's your character jacking in to the net, which it's just called the net. It's not called the internet, it's just called the net. And they're showing like all these Haitian, I don't want to say like ideologies, but like the Haitian mentality of doing certain things and things of that nature. They've also like taken over this former luxurious apartment building, and that's kind of where they're headquartered. But then they talk about the animals here, where their augmentations aren't as like mechanical, they're more biological. So for example, they all look like they're juiced. They all look like they're on steroids, which they are kind of. They're like on animal steroids. Those are some big motherfuckers, but they're in Pacifica, right? And they kind of tease it a little bit as well. And they've even talked about it, but it's interesting to see your character actually interact and talk with the animals instead of like murdering them. And it's interesting to me because it's constantly implied that your character is going up, or not going up, but constantly like interacting with these different gangs within Night City, and not necessarily choosing like all the gangs you can interact with, but not necessarily every single one is evil, right? Like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna join the good gang. It's not necessarily like that. There's nuance to it. There's complexity to it, where you can interact and talk with each gang, and depending on what you do, may piss off one gang over the other. And by the way, interestingly enough, this part, wait, here it is, where you interact with the corpo, this is new. Like there's parts of this that are significantly new, like these aerodynes that come in. I don't remember if I don't know if you remember this, but if you watched the 2018 live stream, these two ships or planes, they weren't here. And these red lines that they draw for their their hangars or whatever, I don't know what it is, their cargo places, I don't know what they're called. But these red lines, these stop tapes, they're not there. They weren't there either. They weren't even in the actual demo, right? And I don't even think this guy was there as well. Maybe one guy, but again, like small changes, but they've definitely had significant development to this game. This is the Tiger Claws. Tiger Claws, they're essentially the Yakuza of this game, right? Remember talking about Chinese and Japanese influence within Night City because it is a coastal city, and it is one of the most important cities in NASA, in the new United States of America. But this is one of the more violent and aggressive gangs within the city, where they reign in Japantown, and it looks like that's their leader. And again, this is you deflecting bullets with your sword, riding around on a motorcycle, which it kind of looks okay when you're going like 60 miles an hour. But holy shit, that's so awesome. That guy with the blades. These are I was wondering, it's like, these look like katanas that he has on his arms, but these are mantis blades, right? Check that shit out. Bang, mantis blades. Right? So they like to operate with katanas and knives, and not knives, but like pistols and stuff like that. As I say that, there's like them firing a bunch of machine guns. These are the Moxes. Now, the Moxes, they've been briefly talked about, but the Moxes are essentially a gang that protects sex workers within Night City. The tie-in with the Tiger Claws is that the Tiger Claws have like brutally raped and killed one of the like a street worker or sex worker, and the Moxes were like, well, we hate them now. We fucking hate them. because they freaking did it to one of the girls. So now now they have beef essentially with the Tiger Claws, for example. Just to kind of talk about the inner workings of both of the gangs. And I think that's all the gangs that they kind of had to show off here. Again, not every single, like there are some gangs that only do like illegal shit and some really, really bad shit. There's like murdering and torturing people and stuff like that. That's kind of the Tiger Claw vibe. The Moxes, they just have sex with a bunch of people. But they also show off, for example, the Nomads. And the Nomads, there's two different versions and variations of the Nomads, right? So here, what are they called? The Race, right? It's kind of hard to see that these are the Race because of how like split up the letters are, but this is a W, this is a R, A, I, right? T, and then this is an H, and then this is an S, right? These are the Race, right? So the Race are an actual like rogue nomad group. And what that means is that they kind of just like go on and rob people, and they're an illegal traveling caravan of people that do illegal shit, right? And they constantly get, and the issue is when it comes to normal nomad groups versus like illegal ones, is that the illegal ones, they constantly get confused with the regular ones. So sometimes you have like peaceful caravans that get murdered because they get confused for illegal nomad groups like the Race, for example. So here you go. Here you go. This looks like a street race, by the way, as evident by the different cars and the 1, 2, 3, 4, stuff like that for the street race. By the by, something interesting that I just saw. I don't know if you saw it. I'll freeze frame it here and I'll try and... What do you think this is? Because it certainly is not a light. I think that's a gun. I think that's a gun, and I think if I kind of rewind it just a little bit, I think it's a gun that's mounted on the vehicle, on the Wraith vehicle. And I think here's another one right here, or a similar one, right? And the reason why I bring that up is that it was teased in the book that I read, The World of Cyberpunk 2077. It was teased in that book where essentially you can mount guns on vehicles, right? And it seems, especially for a area like this in the Badlands, to be almost a necessity because there's race and stuff like that can rob you, as well as other augmentations to your car, which I don't know how much you can customize your vehicle. I think they kind of took it out of the game, which kind of sucks. But maybe like performance-based vehicle enhancements is still a thing, and how like, for example, here it seems like there's bulletproof glass, or not glass, but like metal casings on the windshield, so that way, you know, if you get shot at, or on some vehicles, of course, other vehicles, they don't have that same augmentation, but on this vehicle specifically, it seems like there's, you know, a bulletproof casing on, you know, on the windshield, and, you know, and a gun and stuff like that on the hood of the car, and here you're kind of just running away in the back of a car from the Race, because the Race are after you for some weird reason. But I mean, you can see that this is a heavily modified vehicle, and you're like in the back of a truck, it looks like. So yeah, again, this is another Wraith hideout. This is I'm not Spanish. I can't speak Spanish. Aldecados. This is a regular nomad group, right? So this is just a normal, like, we're a traveling caravan. We don't really want any trouble. We're going to defend ourselves, as evident by this girl who could potentially be a love interest for you, apparently. But she is in this game, and this is the nomad group, and this may be them interacting with the Race, or they just may be like showing off the Race as well. And again, they show off this thing. It also may just be a light as well. I didn't really think about it, but whatever it is, it actually kind of does look like a light. But whatever it is, this car had it. This car had it. By the way, you can even see the augmentations to the vehicles. Rougher tires, bigger tires, suspension. I think these are floodlights or something like that to illuminate the ground in the dark, because they're going to be driving over rough terrain, stuff like that. What is going on here? There's so much going on that it's almost like hard to freaking talk about everything here. But like, I mean, like, it looks like you're being chased by some type of corpo group and they're shooting at you, and then there's people in the Badlands. Like, I can't wait to see what the Badlands actually have to offer in the game, because the Badlands kind of seem like the more interesting part of Cyberpunk 2077, as well as obviously Night City. I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't wait to go to the Badlands just to drive really, really fast on a straightaway. Like, that's pretty much, that's my main motivation for the Badlands. All right, let's listen to what they have to say about the gangs, and then we'll wrap this whole thing up.
Mateusz, thank you so much for joining us. I have personally been really excited to give people a closer look at the gangs. We've shown a little bit on Twitter, but their styles are so distinct.
Yes, I enjoyed them a lot as well in our game. I think they're very cool.
But let's start then with the kind of role that they play, because gangs really do play a prominent role in Night City, correct?
Yes, definitely. The gangs, they rule the streets of Night City. You know, they have the newest cyberware, they have the newest weaponry, and they are really a power that everyone needs to take into account when they are thinking of operating in Night City. You will encounter them as you explore the city, of course, but also as you complete main quests, side quests, different jobs for the fixers. Sometimes you might even get hired by them.
But then, I suppose everybody's thinking then, can you join a gang?
Well, V is a merc, and mercs of Night City are this unique, distinct group that stick mostly to themselves, right? And they get jobs from a variety of factions. They can get jobs from corporations, they can get jobs from gangs, they can get jobs from different kind of like influential clients. Because of this, nobody will ever trust a merc to be one of them, right? And the gangs are no exception here. They are looking only for like people that they know will be loyal to them, right? And that they will fight for their cause all of the time, not just some of the times when it's profitable to them. So because of this, V will mostly stick to the Afterlife. And the Afterlife are this group of mercs, this legendary group of mercenaries in Night City. They get the best jobs, they get the most money, the best clients, and so on. So if you want to become a legend in Night City, you are going to the Afterlife.
So we've obviously mentioned distinct style then. So does that mean there are kind of special gang-themed weapons and items and clothing for players to find and use?
Yes, definitely. There are different vehicles that you can drive, for example. There are cars, there are motorbikes. Then, of course, there are different pieces of clothing themed after gangs. There are weapons and so on. So yeah, definitely there are things to look forward to.
I suppose as somebody who's spent as much time as you have kind of getting to know the gangs, I have to ask, which is your favorite and why?
So I would have to say probably Maelstrom, simply because they have this unique, distinct feel and this weird aesthetic about them. So the idea about Maelstrom is they are people who want to cross the boundary between the machine and human, right? They are changing so much of their body with cyberware that they no longer look human, really. On top of that, they are also very unpredictable. It's very difficult to say what they will do at any point when you meet them. At one moment, they can be shaking hands with you, and at the other moment, you know, they will pull gun out on you, and they bring in this element of chaos into the game, which I really enjoy, personally.
Oh, Matty, thank you so much for joining us. It's always interesting to learn what your favorite gang is. I think it kind of tells me a little bit about you.
Oh, does it? What does it say about me?
Well, we'll talk about that later. But for now, before we wrap up today's episode, we asked people to show us their creativity and design a PC case mod, cyberpunk style.
I'm just going to mute this and I'm just going to talk over it and we'll kind of peace out. There's like 4 minutes left in this. Really not much else to say there that I already haven't kind of already said about the gangs in Night City. I don't really know what else to talk about, really, because everything that they essentially covered was about the gangs. Maybe not covered, but the small like conversation that they talked about was essentially like stuff that I already knew or that we already knew, and it was like about the Maelstrom and other gangs. Like I already know most of this stuff about the freaking what are they? The Night City, not the Night City, the Night City gangs and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna lie to you. As cool and as excited as I am for Cyberpunk 2077, I don't know if I'll do another one of these, because I'll probably just like look over briefly and see like if there's any more gameplay. But I feel like they're trying to cram a lot of like important knowledge and information into like a 20-minute gameplay piece, and it's like it's really, really hard to do that when like there's so much in the game that you want to cover and you want to talk about, and it's really, really hard to cover it. And I don't know if I'll do another one of these. I'll probably just watch it on my own and not really like have an hour-long podcast for it. But I don't know. We'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been 24's podcast, the best video gaming and sports podcast on the entire internet. If you like this podcast, you can find this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, and Pocket Cast, RadioPublic as well. Pretty much where you can find any podcast, you can find my podcast, 24's podcast. They're giving out the PC requirements. I don't own a PC. I own a PS4. Ladies and gentlemen, until my next podcast, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.